Hi, dear patrons. As I'm recording this, it's November 23rd, Tuesday, and yesterday we had the Guan Yin live stream over at the YouTube and on Zoom, and it was such a beautiful experience, and I'm so happy that her energy came through in a bright way, even though I'm still a little under the weather with the sniffles and everything. But I wanted to bring through the Sirians. I've just recorded one part asking Kevin and Carlos, answering Kevin and Carlos questions, but I'll share that over at the YouTube. And then I wanted to talk about like these genetic origins of man and exploration. So I'll bring through the Sirians for this as well. And I kind of have an ambition that I'd love to strive to transcribe these messages, because I've actually become very aware recently, also because people have been sharing some transcriptions with me, that the material really comes out in a very helpful and more meaningful way. And a lot of these very complex messages, like the last one on the higher self, it's far easier to comprehend when you also have the transcription in front of you. So I think perhaps I'll also be slowly finding a natural pace to share videos over here at the Patreon with a minimum of once a month, and then also be planning the live stream, which a tentative plan is perhaps doing one on December 1st, the first one, but who knows, maybe even earlier or later. So for now, thank you just for being here, guys, and I hope you enjoy what the Syrians have to say here this day. So much love to you. Yes, hello, dear human beings, members of this community you call the Patreon. We are happy to be interacting with you. See, it is also, we are reading a smaller scale of, we could say, potentialities within this gathering than within a larger potential gathering that we can anticipate within videos that are being shared in a potentially completely open space. That is, your energy is helping to focus these messages into a more concentrated message that resonates more with the specific, we could say, group configuration of the energies that you are contributing to in this beautiful space, and that we would like to remind you of our appreciation, of our gratitude, as well as, of course, remind you that we are transmitting our deep love to you and this community, we, the Syrian 9D collective. And we are also so fortunate that, well, just right outside of earshot or camera shot, but just perhaps within reach, if we were to extend the hand down of this vessel, we could reach the, well, doggy friend or friendly canine. That's the dog Martha, that's situated down here sleeping. And that is, we have many connections with these canine spirits. Why do we have so many connections with you? Well, because we, similar to you partially, we often transmit and reconfigure certain energies that then readjust you, and have been doing so since your Stone Ages, or since you tamed the first wolves and they become dogs. We have a certain communion with this species that will help us interact with you. And so if you want to strengthen your bond with the Syrians, it's never bad to hang out with the dog as you do so. But at the same time, it also, well, it speaks to our energy being in resonance with this type of companionship, partnership, protective energy, watchful energy that surrounds you. And so this is what we very much contributed with when the creation of mankind took place. We do not prefer to dwell too much of the Anunnaki. Well, these didn't partake too much. We are aware of the whole, we could say, theory of the gold mining slaves and this idea. And there were certain realities where, of course, well, the multiverse being infinite, where this was also explored, but we'll notice how much gold is still left on your planet. And well, rather these ancient monuments, they are elements left of former manifestations of human races or experiments. And so the present human race has been undergoing approximately 5 major civilization experiments in the past 500,000 years where you have existed in your present form. But there were a multitude of species created that was a slight variation on the primate design. Other primates were also designed earlier on from, we could say, something that's more akin to, for instance, the lemurs of Madagascar, these, you know, as the Sasquatch and other beings. But it was chosen that you would, for instance, have naked skin in order for your light receptivity to be that, well, far more attuned. So the idea of the naked body is also something that allows you, for instance, to be far more attuned to the dimensions of moisture. And here, well, the whole osmotic system of the human body is markedly different and, well, of a far more, let's say, this assorting or dissimulating culture, its a quality. Well, what the image we're trying to translate into to our friend's mind here is the idea that the human skin and therefore also the lymphatic system and the whole, well, the ability to process liquid as a system is something that's highly developed within the human species. And so you derive very much healing from water. At the same time, well, this planet was also conceived as a type of water tank. That is, it's often what happens is that a human being will start out with a fish tank and then they'll graduate to also perhaps having a terrarium and having more land species. And at the same time, well, the primitive life forms were first cultivated in these oceans. They were also cultivated on some of the neighboring planets, moons, and asteroids, but it really took on Earth. We were very fortunately or pleasantly surprised with the trajectories that this planet took, and then it was handed over to the reptiles for some periods of time. But then it was also decided that, well, a lot of these reptilian energies, they weren't really fulfilling the niches, and they weren't also not honoring the more subtle qualities of mind that were becoming far more developed and far more present in this galaxy with the influx of, for instance, species such as the Arcturians and us. So therefore it was decided that planet Earth would undergo a slight fine-tunement in its adjustment, and here these more mammalian energies were thought to be more suited for this, since you have your own senses of circuitry, so you are also able to disjoint from, let's say, the natural cycles more. And this makes for very interesting experiments within the realms of mind and biology, for instance, or also within the realms of spirit, because you are exploring realms that are independent from the cycles of, well, the astrological systems, and from the cycles of the planets, the stars, and, well, your solar system in alignment with the Milky Way sensor, and also the Milky Way in alignment with different neighboring galaxies. So, well, here you also have this independent multidimensionality that's in many ways far richer than what has been explored in other places hitherto. That is to say, so far, not much has happened within the cosmos that is as complex as the human being, these fine-tunements of mind that is happening within you, that is, they have merged with some very, very strong emotional qualities. And these emotional qualities, they were primarily written out by the Arcturians, much as your biological codes were much written out by the Pleiadians, but then assisted by Lyran and reptilian codes, where they delivered some very specific templates that they wished to see fulfilled. There were also some other architects, the Findorians, lending some of these more shadow-like aspects of mental nimbleness and your ability to astral travel and adjusting that. So you're also very, very skilled at existing in several dimensions at once, and you often forget this, but well, here's a living example. Well, the idea of us merging with the human consciousness and expressing ourselves in this medium. So these are some of the experiments, and this was the creation of mankind. But you were very much grown to be able to, well, move into different elements. And so notice what will happen is also there will be an aquatic adaptation of mankind that will move into the seas. And well, here you will merge more with some other mammalian species, and you will begin to perhaps, or not perhaps, you will grow less technological, more energetic, more sonar-like. But this is somewhat into the future, a couple of generations from now in the makings. But moving into the stars is a far closer trajectory for you. And here you are already beginning to also grow yourself into a type of, or extend yourself into creations and species and biological systems, merging your biological codes with technology that will help you to sustain some of the pressures that you will experience in outer space as you move out to colonize other reaches of the solar system. This will also accompany you being aware of navigating these worlds. So notice, for instance, how this Dune Classic has moved back into the collective consciousness at this moment. This will hearken, so presents to the collective consciousness a vision of, well, the mutation and development of human consciousness as you move into stellar travel, also integrating more of these, well, medieval instincts that you still hold dear, the clan-like structures, the idea of noble houses and explorations of prophets and messiahs on strange and harsh ecosystems, but also that the way you will learn to navigate the stars is that you will begin to grow increasingly wise in your capacity to see. And as you see, you will know where you are moving already as you are moving there. And this is interesting because, of course, at the same time, as you know, it's following your highest excitement with, well, to the best of your capacity, with no expectations of the result. And for that reason alone, you may also understand that, well, even though you have an intuition about where you're moving, the end result of the manifestation is always of a higher detail and of a surprising quality that retains an element of great enjoyment for you. So these aspects of enjoyment are also growing with the human species. And that's because you may notice that the experience of joy and its related emotions of engagement, curiosity, safety, comfort, belonging, compassion, connection, all these wonderful sentiments, they are sort of signature hallmarks of the higher self, or the higher noble instinct, or the instinct of the soul. And this is slightly increasing within the communal human experience, within the collective, and indeed individually, many of you are experiencing this growing, though of course within it's a spiral. So you may notice that you are still experiencing low points sometimes, but that these low points are higher than other low points you have experienced before. And that's just a way to say that you are of course still experiencing counterpoints, and you are, well, partially also fulfilling a role of being counterpoint machines in your genetic makeup. So you could think of the codons, or these different codes that then code in different ways with the amino acids composed of very few atoms, well, aligned in these protein chains. That is, you could think of these as small melodic sequences. So ways that you play a very, very, very complex melody just by going do 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 do. And it may sound like gibberish to you, but if you were to extend it into infinity, as your genetic code truly is, then it's a complete, it's very, very fascinating to hear this, observe this melody play out. We experience the world far more synesthetically. So we also see the continuation of your genetic codes as a type of melodic arrangement, and as something that's luminous, that's a light that's gaining more and more tonal qualities. So you will, for instance, begin to realize that there are, let's say, harmonic configurations to these codons that make them unique, even though several of the codons code for the same amino acids. Well, if we are remembering and registering the knowledge here correctly on this data bank of this biological system that we are being translated through, then there are 64 codons coding for 20 different amino acids. So this is the idea that, well, you are made up of harmonic configurations that have slightly similar energies, but that are more complex that you discern at this moment. And this is a place that reveals it. But it is for humanity to explore and become more self-aware. So we sense that this has been a type of teaser message that will also engage more of you in this joyful exploration of who you are. And so, dear sweet human beings, love to you. Dear patrons gathered here, thank you for making this beautiful configuration, this confluence of energy, this vortex that we could twirl ourselves into, this matrix for us to appear into and become apparent, for wisdom to be exchanged, for genetic codes to be revealed and activated. Therefore, we, the 9th-dimensional Sirians, we have enjoyed interacting with you. We transmit our love, our wisdom, and our activation codes, and we bless you this day, dear humans. Farewell. Those were the Sirians. They have a lovely energy, and I believe, as far as I remember, they even said something about dogs. So I enjoyed that. Hope you did too, guys, and be well out there.